Welcome to our viewers tuning in. You're watching Weekly News Highlights, where we bring you some of the biggest stories that made the headlines this week. I'm Bae Eun-ji, coming to you from Arirang's virtual studio. A deadly fire broke out at a battery manufacturing facility in South Korea on Monday, killing at least 23 people. Police and fire authorities have launched a joint investigation to determine the exact cause of the fire, and the government is now looking for ways to prevent any future tragedies. North Korea launched another ballistic missile on Wednesday, but failed as the missile exploded mid-air soon after it took off. Although South Korea's military said the test was a complete failure, Pyongyang insisted that it was successful. Soldiers in Bolivia attempted to storm the country's presidential palace in an apparent move to overthrow the current government, but failed. The attempted coup came amid months of tension and political conflict, as well as a severe economic crisis. CCTV footage capturing the moment the fire started at a lithium battery factory south of Seoul on Tuesday shows just how devastating the accident was. 5 officials from the factory have been charged in relation to the blaze that resulted in at least 23 deaths.
In CCTV footage recorded around 10:30 a.m. on Monday, smoke comes out of stack of batteries, startling a worker who was approaching it. Within a minute, more smoke fills the room, prompting other workers to gather and try to stop the fire by moving batteries and bringing a fire extinguisher. The batteries then begin sparking. The police and fire department are conducting an investigation based on the CCTV footage into why the fire started. The fire at a lithium battery factory in Hwasong, south of Seoul, killed at least 23 people, mostly foreign nationals. According to authorities, 17 were from China and 1 from Laos. 5 were South Koreans. They were mostly working on the second floor of a factory where final product checks and packaging was done. The police have charged 5 factory officials, including the owner, and banned them from leaving the country. The owner is also charged with violating the Serious Accidents Punishment Act, which was enacted back in 2021 to prevent serious accidents in workplaces.
I apologize that so many lives have been lost.
According to reports, a senior official at the factory said there had been another fire on the premises involving batteries just last weekend. The fire was put out by workers at the time, but it wasn't reported to the fire department.
And now the tragic fire is raising questions about safety at similar facilities and what should be done to prevent any future tragedies. Our Choi Soo-young talked to some experts.
Experts all agree that the fire, which broke out at the lithium battery factory in Hwasong, was an unprecedented incident, something the country has never experienced before.
This lithium battery fire differs from past fires because the batteries themselves seem to have generated heat for some reason, reaching nearly 1,000 degrees Celsius and causing nearly flammable materials to also catch fire and spread the blaze.
Given the high number of foreign casualties, the government will strengthen fire safety education for such workers and develop fire extinguishing systems to prevent future incidents.
The Interior Ministry will manage the whole process to develop future preventive measures with 7 other ministries, including the Labor and Science ministries. The government will strengthen fire safety education for foreigners and develop fire extinguishing agents for materials such as lithium batteries to prevent future incidents.
To produce and use lithium batteries safely, Professor Moon said that technology must be developed to prevent them from reaching extreme temperatures close to 1,000 degrees Celsius because of the characteristics of the raw material lithium.
If the separator that distinguishes between the cathode and anode, which are the sources of lithium ions, is robust, heat is not generated. However, for some reason, this separator had some problems that led to explosive heat generation. Research is needed to ensure thorough functionality of this separator, and a system for this must be established.
Another expert pointed out institutional shortcomings in the classification of hazardous materials.
Lithium is classified as hazardous under substance management laws, but lithium batteries are excluded due to their minimal lithium content. Further discussion is needed regarding whether products using hazardous materials should also be classified as hazardous.
He added that the simultaneous loading of 35,000 lithium batteries was the cause of a chain reaction of explosions.
If there is excessive damage accumulation, firefighting becomes challenging and causes further damage. New regulations may be needed to restrict or require separate storage areas for large quantities of these materials to prevent such incidents.
Experts said that this fire is a strong lesson for the introduction of further safety measures, as it was a new type of fire in a specialized field. Choi Soo-hyung, 아리랑뉴스.
North Korea launched yet another ballistic missile into the East Sea this week. The regime has also sent more balloons carrying waste into the south. For more on this, we have our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jang-sil with us in the studio. Welcome back, Jang-sil. It's been quite a week for developments in North Korea. First, tell us about their missile launch.
Eun-ji, early on Wednesday morning, North Korea fired yet another ballistic missile into the East Sea. The regime usually publishes the result of the launch the next day, and on Thursday, the day after, it claimed success in launching a multiple warhead missile. North Korea state-run media said Wednesday's launch was to secure the capability to fire multiple warheads on a single ballistic missile. Here's where it gets interesting. The South Korean military has announced that Wednesday's launch was a failure. Take a listen.
The missile launched by North Korea yesterday exploded in the early stages of the flight. North Korea has revealed the result in a different context this morning, and I think it is nothing more than a means of deception and exaggeration. Anyone can tell that the launch wasn't normal if you look at numerous videos and photos taken by civilians.
The South's military said it's certain Wednesday's launch was a failure. Some experts had said, though, it's too soon to tell if the launch succeeded or not, but the military said its judgment is based on further analysis using more sophisticated equipment and other means. It also suggested there's a chance North Korea tampered with the photo of the missile.
What North Korea released today is similar to the Hwasong-17 liquid-fueled ICBM, launched on March 16, 2023. There's a possibility that the photo was tampered.
The South's military added that Pyongyang's claim that the test was successful could also be aimed at covering up last month's military reconnaissance satellite launch that also failed. On May 28th, the North's leader let the residents know about the failure and encouraged scientists.
Right. I see. Now, what's the reason behind this latest missile launch?
Well, Eun-ji, there seems to be a pattern. The regime usually launches something as a sign of protest over ongoing summits or joint military exercises between Seoul and Washington. The military also believes Wednesday's launch was due to the fact that the U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt is taking part in the Freedom Edge joint military exercise between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan that began on Thursday.
Now let's go over to the balloons carrying waste that North Korea has been sending to the south. What's happening there?
Eun-ji, the regime has sent hundreds of balloons just this week. The balloons weighed up to 10 kilograms and were carrying cut-off papers, this time contrary to the initial type of balloons that the regime sent in from late May that were carrying various trash, including old clothes and sometimes even fecal matter. The North Korean leader's sister, Kim Yo-jong, who practically serves as the leader's secretary, has previously warned that more balloons will be sent to the south if it doesn't stop sending leaflets to the north, referring to the propaganda leaflet sent to the north on June 20th, that is, by a North Korean defectors organization here in the south. The South Korean government has been consistent with the court decision that distributing those leaflets should be guaranteed under freedom of expression. A senior Unification Ministry official has been telling reporters that North Korea sends balloons at a state level, whereas leaflets sent from the south have nothing to do with the government, and that Seoul is abiding by last year's court decision that stated banning leaflets against the north violates freedom of expression.
Most balloons are being sent from a North Korean defector organization called the Fighters for a Free North Korea, which is a civic group. They have reportedly sent dollar bills, medicines, leaflets containing information about Kim Jong-un, and USBs containing South Korean dramas and songs.
All right, if you put it like that, we can clearly see the difference between the balloons sent between the two Koreas. Thank you for that report, Jung-sil.
You're welcome, Eun-ji.
And to better respond to these threats from North Korea, South Korea, the US, and Japan carried out their first multi-domain military exercise this week in waters south of Jeju Island. The three-day Freedom Edge exercise kicked off on Thursday to promote interoperability and protect freedom for peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region, including on the Korean Peninsula. It involved exercises in various fields such as ballistic missile defense, air defense, anti-submarine warfare, maritime interdiction, and defensive cyber training. The American aircraft carrier, the USS Theodore Roosevelt, as well as Aegis destroyers and maritime patrol aircraft took part in the latest drill. The Trilateral exercise came after the defense chiefs of the three countries agreed to launch the drills earlier this month, in line with the agreement established during their Leaders Camp Davis summit last year. Separately, South Korea on Wednesday held live-fire drills on its western border islands. The country's Marine Corps fired around 290 artillery shells using its K-9 howitzers and Chunmoo multiple rocket launcher systems. This was the first time in nearly 7 years that the country held such an exercise, after it decided earlier this month to suspend the Inter-Korean military agreement, which bans hostile activities, including live-fire drills near the border. North Korea has also been constantly accused for its violation of human rights. To raise awareness of this, the Ministry of Unification issued a report detailing the execution of a young man for watching movies and listening to songs from South Korea.
In North Korea, those watching South Korean dramas and movies or listening to songs must do so at the risk of their own lives. For the first time, the Ministry of Unification has made public the record of an execution of a person violating North Korea's law on rejecting reactionary thought and culture. Enacted in late 2020, the law bans North Koreans from watching foreign content that the regime believes potentially poses a threat to it. The ministry released its latest report on the human rights situation in North Korea on Thursday, and it included the case of a 22-year-old male being executed for violating the recent law. A defector who witnessed the execution said the young man was put to death for listening to 70 South Korean songs and watching 3 movies, according to charges read out before the sentence was carried out. He was caught in possession of the South Korean material and was also charged with distributing the content to 7 others. New testimony from 141 North Korean defectors this year, added to that from 508 defectors in 2023, confirms the continuity of North Korea's human rights violations. 2 defectors, a mother and her daughter in her 20s, came to the South late last year and spoke to reporters on the same day the report was released. They said they had to escape the North because they were on the verge of death due to a financial crisis and extreme surveillance and interference by some younger watchdog members of the regime's Workers' Party. Actor Yoo Ji-tae was named an ambassador for promoting North Korean human rights.
About 20 years ago, I was filming a movie based on a North Korean novel, and when I was in Mount Kumgang for shooting, the staff from the South and North were using the same language, but it felt so different that it made me feel sad. I later learned that there are serious issues regarding North Korean human rights. I want to do everything in my power to help.
The ministry plans to promote the report to raise awareness both inside and outside South Korea.
June 25th is the day the nation commemorates the sacrifice of those who fought for the freedom of the South during the Korean War and their crucial role in shaping the country into what it is today. Our Eun-ji went out to see how they are remembered.
The Korean War is sometimes referred to as the Forgotten War, as it is often overshadowed by World War II and the Vietnam War. It broke out on June 25, 1950, when the North invaded the South. The Korean War should not be forgotten, nor should the sacrifices of its veterans from South Korea and the UN forces from over 20 countries.
영웅들은 전부 영웅들이야. 이분들의 이름을 영원히 기억해줘야 돼.
After more than 70 years, the Korean War may seem like the distant past for many young people, yet it remains important to hold events such as writing letters of gratitude to veterans. Here at the War Memorial of Korea, a special event is held where people can write letters to the veterans whose service in the war enabled South Korea to become the nation it is today.
We thought that it would be important and interesting for us to learn more about Korea's history, also to teach the kids a little bit more about war.
Curator Kim Jung-yup emphasizes why it's crucial not to forget the Korean War.
This conflict has profoundly shaped Korea's modern history over the past 70 years, so it plays an essential role in comprehending Korean society today.
He added that the Korean War is currently in a temporary pause, suggesting that we must not forget is more appropriate than we must remember. After the armistice on July 27, 1953, not all prisoners of war were able to return home, with tens of thousands of POWs unable to leave the north. According to the Ministry of National Defense, since 1994, 80 of those prisoners of war have managed to escape the north and return to the south. Today, 9 of those 80 are still alive, and a special exhibition remembers and honors the lives of those prisoners of war. This exhibition marks the first public unveiling in 13 years of findings from the project conducted by the Ministry of National Defense, vividly portraying the experiences of South Korean prisoners of war in North Korea.
Actually, my grandfather was a soldier who participated in this war. I have never been here, but I thought it would be a very good place to visit for foreigners and Korean people to remember the soldiers and like UN military services. We can thank for them.
And at the Peace Plaza, a special honor guard ceremony was held to commemorate the military's role and contributions to the nation.
As well as special events, the War Memorial of Korea's permanent exhibitions ensure that those who fought in the Korean War are not forgotten. Eun-ji, 아리랑뉴스.
Starting Thursday, professors of medicine at Severance Hospital, one of the 5 major hospitals in Seoul, began an indefinite walkout to protest the government's expansion of the medical school quota. Although they'll continue to cover essential emergency and intensive care areas, outpatient services are expected to see a major curtailment of appointments. Meanwhile, professors at Asan Medical Center plan to join the walkout next Thursday, even though professors at the 3 other major hospitals have decided not to participate in the collective action yet. On the economic front, Korean consumers believe inflation will hover in the 3% range over the next 12 months. That's according to findings by the Bank of Korea on Tuesday, with officials there adding that the outlook falls short of their target range of 2%. Still, this latest projection by the public is down 0.2 percentage points on month. The BOK, for its part, points out local inflation remains vulnerable to external variables, such as oil prices and interest rates. Over in Bolivia, the country's armed forces staged an apparent coup attempt on Wednesday, which ended with the soldiers withdrawing under the command of the newly appointed army chief, Jose Wilson Sanchez. Our Eun-ji reports.
On Wednesday, an attempted coup by Bolivia's armed forces came to an end, with the former military leader behind the rebellion arrested. Earlier in the day, soldiers had surrounded government buildings in La Paz before armored vehicles charged the doors of the presidential palace. Leading the coup was former military commander General Juan Jose Zuniga, who had been stripped of his position on Monday. Before entering the palace, Zuniga told reporters that 3 army chiefs had come together to take action due to an economic crisis in the country, saying that he had public support. He added that he was trying to restore democracy and free political prisoners. Hundreds of President Luis Arce's supporters gathered in the square outside the palace, as Zuniga was confronted by Arce, who ordered the soldiers to withdraw. As the police took control of the plaza, Bolivian authorities arrested Zuniga. Inside the presidential palace, President Arce appointed new heads of the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Replacing Zuniga is Jose Wilson Sanchez, who ordered all mobilized armed forces to return to base. In a speech after the attempted coup, Arce said the military had stained the uniform and the Bolivian constitution through its actions.
Without a doubt, this has been an atypical day for a country that wants democracy. Today we are living through an attempted coup by members of the military who are staining the uniform and attempting against the constitution. But we also count on members of the military that know that our constitution and respect for the current laws are most important.
Bolivia's public prosecutor's office said a criminal investigation would be carried out against Zuniga and those involved in the attempted coup, as regional leaders and international organizations expressed support for Bolivia's democracy. Wednesday's attempted coup comes amid brewing tensions caused by political conflict and economic hardship in Bolivia ahead of the presidential elections in 2025. Eun-ji, 아리랑뉴스.
On the cultural front, New York City's Times Square is known for its bright lights and bustling crowds. But this week, it experienced something special. Traditional Korean music and dance took center stage, capturing the attention of those who were at the iconic landmark. Our cultural correspondent Song Yoo-jin files this report from New York.
Surrounded by giant billboards and towering buildings, the distinct sound of traditional Korean instruments being played, the gwangwari and taepyeongso, fill the air. Musicians not only play, but dance to their music. The stage? One of the world's busiest crossroads, Times Square. This is the National Kugak Center's Korean folk music performance, Pankut.
This is my fourth time at Times Square, but it's my first time performing here instead of just sightseeing. It feels really special, and I hope that by performing in front of so many people today, we can help spread Korean culture.
The show is a kickoff event counting down to the official opening of the New York Korea Center. Described by the Culture Ministry as a comprehensive hub of Korean culture, the Korea Center brings together the overseas branches of the Korean Cultural Center, Korea Tourism Organization, Korea Creative Content Agency, and the King Sejong Institute under one roof. Currently, there are 5 branches in Los Angeles, Shanghai, Tokyo, Beijing, and Paris. With just a day until the center's opening, the Culture Ministry partnered with the National Kugak Center for the Pankut performance to raise awareness and boost excitement.
It was actually very cool and very unique. We never seen before, so we're just standing and kind of cool.
It's something different, and people should know about the traditions because a lot of people, they are not familiar with the indigenous traditions, and also introducing something like that, it's really nice.
Yes. So the stage is set and the excitement here is palpable, as you can see. All that's left now is the grand opening of the New York Korea Center this Thursday night here in Manhattan. Song Yoo-jin, 아리랑뉴스, New York.
And now over to sports. With only a month left until the start of the Paris Olympics, our Choi Soo-young visited the training center for Team Korea, where everything is set for the athletes heading to the Games.
South Korea's athletes' faces were filled with excitement and anticipation. In the upcoming 2024 Paris Olympics this summer, around 10,500 athletes from 206 countries will compete in 32 sports. Team Korea will comprise slightly over 140 athletes to participate in 21 sports, its smallest delegation since the 50 at the 1976 Montreal Olympics. At the recent 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics 3 years ago, South Korea won a total of 20 medals, including 6 gold, 4 silver, and 10 bronze, finishing in the top 15 overall rankings. Here at the National Training Center in Jincheon, Chungcheongbuk-do Province, Team Korea is training hard in the final preparations for the Olympics before heading to Paris with the goal of winning 5 gold medals and securing a place in the top 15 overall rankings. In archery, Korea claimed 4 gold medals in Tokyo and expect to get good result in Paris.
In Tokyo, there were no spectators due to COVID-19. But the Paris Olympics are expected to be filled with many fans. We are very excited and have been preparing a lot, so we ask for strong support. My goal is to win a gold medal in the men's team event.
Swimmer Hwang Sonu, who won 6 medals, including 2 golds at the 2023 Asian Games in Hangzhou, showed his confidence.
Over the past 3 years, we have honed our skills and gained valuable experience, and we are determined to show the country excellent performances.
Weightlifter Park Hae-jung aims for a medal in the discipline for Team Korea for the first time in 16 years since the 2008 Beijing Olympics.
Since it's my first Olympics, I feel very nervous, but I'm also eager to go to Paris quickly. Although my goal is not necessarily a gold medal, I am working hard with my coach to ensure I at least make it into the medal podium.
Badminton star An Se-young also said that she will deliver her best performance to the nation in Paris.
Earlier this year, I was constantly worried and had a tough time due to injuries. However, now that I am focusing on the Olympics, my condition has improved significantly. I can prepare well. I believe I can achieve good results.
Meanwhile, following concerns about the extreme heat in Paris at the end of July, the Korean Sport and Olympic Committee has pledged to support the athletes in every way, including providing cooling jackets to ensure they can do their best. Regardless of the color or number of medals, the Paris Summer Olympics, which will bring great joy and excitement to the nation, will begin a 17-day journey on July 26. Choi Soo-hyung, 아리랑뉴스, 진천.
Now that's all for weekly news highlights for this last week of June. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a great rest of the weekend.